Welcome to another episode of Maddie for President. I'm Jim Munchback in Houston, Texas, and this is going to be a very different episode, different kind of episode. So I want to warn you that the audio you're about to hear in this episode is terrible. And that's all I'm going to say right now is that you're going to hear some terrible audio. I hope you're watching this in YouTube so you can see my excuse for the terrible audio and so that you can know what to look forward to next week. So without further ado, let's jump right in to this week's episode of Maddie for President. Thank you for being with us. Okay, here we go. I am pulling out of my driveway to go to work. This is the first time I've ever done this, especially with the ZV-1 Sony Super Camera. And it's in the rain, so don't try this at home, whatever you do. So I've got the the camera mounted on my windshield, and as you can see, it's raining. It just started raining, like it sometimes does in Houston, Texas. And I had this plan. I was going to produce Maddie for President, the podcast. It's a weekly video podcast, and so video is one of the things we promise with the best B-roll on YouTube and an opportunity to watch my lips move while I'm producing the show. Well, this week I got kind of behind, and I thought it would be kind of cool to figure out how to produce the podcast while I was in the car, because I'm in the car a lot, and I know generally what I want to put on the show. For example, I know what B-roll. Today, in fact, the B-roll that I want to be playing is Maddie and Caleb in a tea party. It's an amazing little video B-roll for them. We enjoy pretty much everything we do with Maddie and Caleb and Maddie for President, Caleb for Congress. So it's a lot of fun, and they have discovered, somebody bought them this toy set of little teacups and food, all plastic, and they love to play with it together. They have tea parties, we all share the tea, and they make us hot dogs and croissants and all of these cool little, stupid little play toys that we pretend to eat. And so that's the B-roll that you're seeing as I'm talking. But as you probably know, I can't produce the video while I'm driving. So here I am saying things on this video, and you're watching other things on the B-roll when I get a few minutes to produce it. So that's the way this is working right now. So this is new. It's new to me. It's a test, something that I want to learn how to do. Now, I will tell you that things didn't work out because of the rain and a couple of other technical difficulties. I wasn't able to connect this mic, so you'll notice I'm recording this currently into my ZV Sony camera. Not a good idea. You can tell the audio quality is terrible. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do is A, forgive me for the terrible audio in this podcast and on this video if you're watching it on YouTube, and I hope you are watching it on YouTube. Number one, forgive the terrible audio quality, but number two is tune in next week because I'll get this figured out, and I will have this mic, which is an awesome mic. It's a Fifine, I can't remember the model number. I'll put a picture of it in the show notes. But this mic, it's awesome. And so I will have this mic sitting in my car right here. You can't see it because I'm driving. But I will have this mic sitting on and it's got a great stand. So it'll be sitting on this console as I speak. And the cool thing is the video producer that I use, the video editor that I use, it's ScreenFlow, by the way. It has this great noise cancellation, so it cancels out background noise. I will certainly apply that filter to today's episode, but don't expect much, okay? So anyway, this show today is going to be kind of short. I wanted to introduce the tea party, number one. Number two, I wanted to tell you about a new toy that I got, because right now I am actually cooking an amazing piece of meat on the grill, and the grill is new. So I got a new Traeger grill, and I am actually cooking on the grill as I'm driving. So you may not be able to see that so well, but what we have is we have a big piece of Boston butt roast on the Traeger grill, the new Traeger. It's named Traeger ! You get to name the thing when you put it into your phone app. So my Traeger ! For the first time, I'm cooking a large piece of meat on a smoker. I think I've tried a brisket one time on my old Oklahoma Joe smoker, but it didn't come out very well because I'm just not patient. So this Boston butt roast, which is on the smoker as I'm speaking to you, it's cooked all night for 12 hours. And I'll put the recipe that I'm test driving in the show notes, but it's been cooking on low temperature 180 overnight for 12 hours. And then this morning I got up and cranked this temperature up to 225. So that's what you probably saw. And if you look, I'm at a stoplight so I can show you this. So if you look, the internal temperature of that bad boy is 167, and I need that to get to 205. So you'll see the recipe how to cook a Boston butt roast, but that's the goal, to get it to 205. So once it gets to 205, I'm going to call Lovey up or text her and say, hey, I've turned it off, because I can turn it off using the app. Isn't that amazing? I'll turn off the smoker, let the thing rest for a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours, and then Lovey will attack that piece of meat with, she'll just tear it up and shred it, because it's going to turn out to be pulled pork. And it will be pulled pork for a very special purpose. So here's the purpose of the pulled pork. And if it doesn't work, I'll do it again. I'll make another one. That piece of meat costs $10. $10. That's amazing. Only in America. A Boston butt roast. That's the shoulder of a pig. It costs $9, 97 cents a pound for this piece of meat. So it's a test, but Lovey will tear it apart. She'll shred it. She'll add some Sweet Baby Ray's to it. She'll set some aside so that we'll actually have it for dinner tonight, and I'll make sure I get some great footage for that for next time on Maddie for President. So the purpose of this roast, though, is, sorry about the noise, it's raining, as you can see. So the cool thing about this roast, the higher purpose for this roast, is next week we're going on a road trip to Bowling Green, Kentucky. We're going to spend several days at the lake house with the family from Michigan and from Kentucky. Sorry about the background noise. So, man, it's raining bad. I should not be doing this in the rain. I'm turning my lights on, I'm slowing down. It's crazy. I had no idea it was going to rain today. I'm glad I'm not on my Goldwing motorcycle. That would not be a pleasant trip. Anyway, we will be on a road trip, and I will be doing a little update while we drive. Probably I'll let Lovey drive so that I'm not doing this while I'm driving. But at any rate, I'm driving right now, so don't tell on me. If I get caught doing this, I could get a ticket. And like my old friend, I think his name was Beretta, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Well, I don't want to pay a ticket, but if I get a ticket, I'll pay the ticket, and this will be my sacrifice for you. So anyway, back to the show. So 3 things. 1, I wanted to share the tea party footage. You're getting to see that now. Number 2, I wanted to share the new Traeger smoker and the new recipe and give you a little heads up about what's coming. And number 3, in this show, I wanted to introduce Maddie and Caleb to a very, very special person. So now I'm going to play a couple of clips. Obviously, I'm not going to do it right now because I'm driving. But when I get to my office, probably on Saturday, actually, I will play around with my editor, and I've got a great video, a couple of videos, to introduce Maddie and Caleb to someone who I believe is a hero, who several politicians on the left hate this guy. But as an independent, as somebody who values freedom and the American way and all of the values that we cherish, or we used to cherish in America, this man is a proponent, and he's just a great example of the best kind of human being. His name is Ben Carson. And so I want to introduce Maddie and Caleb to one of the most amazing people I've ever, I don't know Ben Carson, but I would vote for this guy for anything he ran for. He's a terrible politician, which in fact, I think probably makes him an awesome human being. Politicians who are good at being politicians are typically like used car salesmen. And I'm not saying that used car salesmen are evil, terrible people, but they're always trying to sell you a car. And that's what politicians typically are doing. Not this guy, Ben Carson. Amazing story. I want my grandkids to get to know this guy because his legacy can teach us so much. So here we go, Ben Carson. I'll see you next week on Maddie for President. I have no idea where or when I'll get to produce next week's show because we'll be out of town. So just stay tuned and check it out on YouTube. And don't forget, please leave us a 5-star review in iTunes. I promise to shout out new reviews each week, and we have done a terrible job of letting people know about the show, and therefore nobody's giving us any reviews, so there's nothing to shout out this week. But next week, I'm sharing this with all of my family, and I'm going to ask them, if you're a friend, if you're a family, if you're a friend, if you know me, if you know our family, if you appreciate the show, please leave a 5-star review in iTunes. And if I'm not dead between now and next week because of doing crazy things like this, then I will put together another show, and I'll see you next week on Maddie for President. Have a great week.
Let us remember that this really is a nation that was founded under godly principles. Let's not let anybody drive God from our nation. We have to decide who we are. We don't have to be like anybody else. We have not been like anybody else. We should not be like anybody else. Let them try to be like us. And we need to make it perfectly clear that it's okay to live by godly principles of loving your fellow man, caring about your neighbor, developing your God-given talents to the utmost so that you become valuable to the people around you, having values and principles that govern your life. And if we do that, we truly will have one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
In part 2 of our interview, the former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development opens up to us about how it was his time spent as a pediatric neurosurgeon that helped to shape his pro-life views, especially when he would operate on babies who were still in the womb. Here is part 2 of our interview with Dr. Ben Carson. I want to turn now to your career as a pediatric neurosurgeon. You truly are an expert on the unborn child. Can you just speak to the reality of the unborn child based on what you saw in the operating room? And did that shape your pro-life beliefs?
Well, you know, there was a time when I was pro-choice. And I said, you know, I don't believe in killing little babies, but you know, what right do I have to tell somebody else what they should do? So, you know, I was pro-choice. And then it struck me one day as I was reading about slavery. And I said, what if the abolitionists had said, well, I don't believe in slavery, but you guys can do what you want to do. What would be going on in our country even today? So I think there is a responsibility, a moral responsibility that we have when we know things are being done incorrectly, when we know that little tiny innocent babies are being slaughtered. And you don't have to wait very long beyond conception to see that that's a little baby. At 6 or 8 weeks, you can see that little nose and those little lips and ears and little fingers and toes and the heart's beating. I was at a banquet and a woman came up to my wife and she said, "Are you Dr. Carson's wife?" And she said, "Yes." And she said, "Your husband operated on me when I was still in my mother's womb. And now today she's a grown woman, fully capable of supporting herself, beautiful young lady. And for that reason, you'll never convince me that what's in a mother's womb is a meaningless bunch of cells."
To that point, I think something that is so scandalous, Dr. Carson, is that there are some hospitals that will perform surgery on an unborn child like you used to do, but then in a separate hospital wing, perform abortions on different unborn children. Your thoughts on that, how some unborn babies' lives are truly fought for while others are snuffed out?
Well, I think that's a real responsibility that we have to help people to recognize that these are individuals, these are human beings, they need our help. I was at a conference in South Africa, and the head of the ACLU was bragging about how they are the ones who speak for those who can't speak for themselves. So I said, a woman came to me, she was 33 weeks pregnant, and she was on her way to Kansas to get an abortion because that was the only place in the country that would still do it that late. And I talked her out of it, and she had the baby. Had a neurological deficit. I had to operate on the baby, but the baby's fine. She loves the baby. She's so glad she didn't kill that baby. But I asked him, would you speak for that baby? That's a baby that couldn't speak for itself. A baby 33 weeks, viable outside the womb. He hemmed and hawed and skirted the issue. Later on that night at dinner, I said, let me make it easy for you. I said, I operate on little kids that are 25, 26, 27 weeks gestation. They're in an incubator. They're getting maximum support. Would you speak for them? He said, absolutely. I said, but the one that's several weeks further advanced and is in the safest place in the universe it can be, you can't speak for that one. And he says, I realize that doesn't make any sense, but I believe the woman has the right to kill the baby until the second it is born. And I said, will you say that out loud? And he said, no. But now they will say it out loud. Now they even talk about killing babies that have been born. We're going to look back on this time sometime in the future and say those people were barbarians.
Dr. Carson, earlier this year, Planned Parenthood renounced their founder, Margaret Sanger, because of her eugenic and racist roots. You've been vocal about Margaret Sanger's dangerous beliefs before. What do you make of Planned Parenthood's move, and do you think it's possible that our nation's largest abortion business can truly remove itself from their founder's vision?
Well, I think we should pray for everybody. Mm-hmm. We should work for everybody and hope the best for everybody. We shouldn't give up on anybody. And if Planned Parenthood can understand that, I think there is real hope for the rest of us. I think we can make progress on this issue. It's very important not to get into our respective corners and to demonize people, because people do things based on their belief system. Just like I said years ago, I was pro-choice too. But as life goes on, as you learn more, as you have different experiences, as the spirit moves you, you sometimes change. You become a different person. I think there's hope for everybody, and I'm very encouraged to see that move by Planned Parenthood.
Dr. Ben Carson, founder and chairman of the American Cornerstone Institute, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I enjoy always being with you. And
okay, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of Maddie for President. This is, again, first time I've done this. I'm producing, not fully producing, but shooting some B-roll. Actually, it's not B-roll. I'm the A-roll. This is me in the car. The rain has gone away, so the conditions in Houston have changed radically. The sun's shining. As you can see, it's not raining. The windshield wipers are not on, and I am still driving to work And just want to let you know, remind you that next week I'll be in Bowling Green, Kentucky with the family from Michigan and Kentucky. And we will be enjoying tons of fun and food and fellowship. And we're driving to Kentucky, Connie and I. So I will be shooting some more footage using a really much better microphone than I'm using now. So Connie will be driving and I will be playing video games. This is what I call a video game. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Maddie for President. I got a little stressed doing this one because, I risked my life for you. So come back next week and I'll share some of the cool things that we're working on this week. I'll give you a little B-roll from our pulled pork recipe on the new Traeger, and I'm sure and we're cooking a brisket next week too, so I'll include that in Maddie for President. And next week you'll get to see a little footage, at least of the trip that we're taking to Kentucky. Not sure when I'll get to produce that episode, but I'll do my best to get it to you by next Saturday. So have a great week. Thanks again for watching and listening to Maddie for President and iTunes and YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell, and you just never know what might come your way if you get that notification. And please don't forget to leave a 5-star review in iTunes. We've had no reviews in some time, so I'm going to send this episode to my friends and family and just really basically beg them to learn how to do a 5-star review on iTunes. So thanks. I'm going to turn this off and hope that nobody catches me and turns me into the police for doing something that is clearly illegal. It should be illegal. I'm pretty sure it is illegal. And I hate to admit that I'm probably breaking the law, but I am hands-free, except I need this hand to push that button, and there's somebody passing me, so here we go.